Hello, everybody. Good morning from Thailand. I hope this is being recorded. Welcome to the master class. I had a question about the master class. Why am I doing a master class? Well, we decided to do a master class once a month as a public service to pass on all of the things that I've learned from decades of study. I never stopped studying. And it's a public service. It's a free public service to help educate and elevate your understanding. And that's why I'm doing it. It's my gift. Okay, it's a gift, and everybody is welcome. And today's class, I call it Zen and the Default Mode Network, and it's a very interesting subject. It's also very critical. All of these things are very critical. And I hope you have a pen and paper. It's always better to do what is known as active listening, which means you take notes as you're listening. And if you do that, it goes into your brain and you remember it and process it far, far better and deeper and more completely than if you just listen. Okay? If you, by the way, if you can repeat what you hear me say, that's the strongest. That's the strongest. Now, so science in neurology is really advancing these days, and that's why I'm spending a lot of time studying and reviewing all of the literature myself. And they've identified now the neural network that is activated if you're present. If you're present. By that I mean whatever you're doing, you know you're doing it, and you're focused consciously on it. You're married to it. Now they named that neural net. There's a network that activates, and they call it the task positive network. Task positive network. That network is in opposition to the biggest network, the one that you identify with as yourself. And that's called the default mode network. And the trick with the default mode network is it's unconscious. It's unconscious. It's ruled by the subconscious. And it controls 95% of everything. 95%. That's accepted across science, across the board. Here's the trick. The task positive network and the default mode network cannot operate at the same time. If one is on, the other's off. Now, there was a researcher at Harvard, I don't know how many people he used, and what he found when he was looking for the two networks, in his test study, the minimum was 47% of all the time is in the default mode network. And he calls it daydreaming. I want to advance that understanding, and I want you to understand it as inner dialogue. Inner dialogue. All day long, your inner dialogue is moving, and it gives you you. It gives you your life, and it's unconscious. The whole purpose of doing meditation, when they sit quietly and they'll say, watch thoughts come and go. You're going to see coming and going is the inner dialogue. And it just runs on loops. And it's unconscious. The trick is to make it conscious. But that's the default mode network. Okay? That is your self-identity. And then your brain makes sure that everything fits the default mode network. That's what it does. If you activate the task positive network, the default mode network shuts off. So if you're doing something and you're totally engrossed in it, married to it, you're in the task positive network. It's a tricky word, task positive. And the default mode network is shut off. And that means you're actually fully experiencing what you're doing. You're actually alive. The lights are on and you're home. Not the lights are on and nobody's home. Okay, so I want you to understand the difference. Now, if the default mode network is always the one running, and very seldom, especially now in this new technological development, the default mode is really running everything, and consciousness goes way down because it's the speed, and I've been teaching you about the information overload and the scrolling and all of that. We're going to get to that. But what happens when you're in the default mode, or what the researcher called daydreaming? What's going on? It's really quite significant. The first finding is your happiness is decreased. Real happiness. That's why the state of Ananda, we call causeless love or causeless joy, is a completely different thing. And we're meant to live in the state of Ananda. When we're in the default mode and it's operating wherever you are, happiness is decreased. Now, how and why does that happen? Because there's a disconnect. You're eating something, you're at dinner, and maybe you're with your partner or your friend. But the default mode, your mind is in the future or the past, something somebody said hours ago or whatever. And so you're eating, they're there, and there's a disconnect. The default mode is operating. You're not present. You think you're present, but you're not present at all. And that disconnect lowers, because you're not in the experience actually there, it lowers happiness. Now, how does that manifest? Well, whenever we're in the default mode network, the amygdala is activated. Depending on circumstances, it'll be either highly activated or low level activated, but it's activated. That gives a low grade cortisol is always there, low grade stress hormones. It creates a persistent background discontent or dissatisfaction. It's not because it's not full. You're not there. And you get there's like an unconscious sense something's wrong or something's not fully there or great. It's because it's a disconnect. You're doing this, but your mind is operating and it's just running all over the place. And once you can actually see your inner dialogue, I'm able to see my inner dialogue now. It just runs. All it does is run. Whatever the way the inner dialogue works, wherever your eyes or something, there will be some kind of environmental trigger, and your eyes have 11 million sensory receptors, 11 million. So it's seeing all kinds of stuff. stuff you're conscious of, and most of it you're not conscious of. And that triggers, it hits little bells in the subconscious uh, software in the repository. And then that triggers a thought, a memory, a story. And it just goes and goes and goes. It's really, once you can see it, it's actually fun to watch it. It's amazing. You can be doing something and there'll be a trigger, and your mind will go to a scene in a movie that you saw 20 years ago, and then another trigger comes up, and if once you get to see it, you can trace it. It's an amazing thing, but it's a disconnect from where you are. It's a disconnect. Now, I'll give you an idea of how strong the contrast is. The research shows if you do anything like drinking a glass of water, just sitting in your chair looking at me, if you're actually fully present and conscious for 2 minutes, it's greater than pleasant distraction for 1 hour. So for an example, let's say you're going to go on a picnic at a beautiful lake, and you go down there, and while you're sitting there and you make a nice little fire and you're with your friend, and you're not there. It's very pleasant and lovely, and your friend, everyone's laughing, but your mind you're not fully engaged. You're in default mode. Mind is in the future, in the past, and wherever it is. And even though the lake is beautiful and everything is lovely and the sun is shining, the birds are singing, and you're there, 2 minutes of consciously doing anything is greater than 1 hour at the lake. That's the contrast. So why do I talk about Zen? Well, Zen is a system. Leave the idea of Zen Buddhism, just Zen. Which you think just Zen. Zen is a system or a craft that creates conscious people. It's a craft of consciousness. And what is the principle of Zen? There's a couple of principles, and they're very applicable to us. In fact, they're essential now, because Zen is it's correct neurologically, it's correct spirit, it's correct in every possible way you can do, because it's in harmony with a human being, the way you're created, the way life is. And all it is doing one thing at a time, one thing. They make their life simple, austere, and conscious. So their whole objective is to either, let's say they're going to do seated meditation, and they're going to fully be there, watching their breath, totally engaged. If they have to sweep the floor, if they're in a Zen monastery, they're sweeping. Their objective is to sweep, and that's all they're doing. And their mind is fully present every stroke. If they do walking meditation, they walk very, very, very slowly, and every step is fully conscious. This is the methodology. Well, remember, the frontal cortex only processes 40 bits of information a second. It's unbelievably slow. Unbelievably slow. Very tiny. It's like the consciousness of the frontal cortex is like a little pin light in a giant black, dark warehouse called the world. Very, very tiny. So it's made for one thing at a time. As long as it's one thing at a time, you can experience it and you can be there. When it's multiple things, you cannot. It does not work that way. That's why you have to have a default mode network. The brain requires the subconscious to be handling all of the other millions and millions and millions of bits of information per second and filtering it all out so that you can just do what you have to do. The brain is receiving it all, but it deletes and separates and filters. And as I've been teaching you in the collectives and so forth, I'm going into this and teaching it. If you've been with me all this time, and if you haven't, if you're new today, don't worry about it. I won't only be teaching it once. I've been doing this for 6 decades now. Still have to learn more. So simplicity, Zen is simplicity and focus at what they're doing, one thing at a time. Now, what does that do? It creates a very powerful, concentrated, thicker, denser frontal cortex. The stronger and the frontal cortex, the more awake the person is, which means they're in the task positive network, not in the default mode network. The lower the default mode network, the more awake the person is. The more awake we are, the more we experience our life. When we experience our life, irregardless of what we're doing, even taking out the garbage, if you're fully present, like when you see like Zen monks or Tibetan monks, Tibetan lamas, anything what we would consider dirty and miserable, or what we would consider joyful and a lot of fun, is equal for them. And there's a natural happiness, because our actual essence is ananda, happiness, causeless joy. Causeless joy. Now, when they've done studies on the brains of Tibetan monks, Tibet makes some of the strongest of all the meditators that ever existed, because of the way their system is so austere and so it's very specialized. So they did a lot of studies with Tibetan monks, functional brain scans, all kinds of tests. Their frontal cortex is very, very strong. And when they focus, they're able to lock in like a laser in the present moment. Concentrated, powerful, present focus. I want you to know, in the studies, a single diksha, when you come to see me in the collectives or when you have your privates and you receive diksha, a single diksha is known to be able to open up areas in your brain and in the frontal cortex equal in one diksha to 20 to 30 years of Tibetan monk meditation. Senior monks, the top of the line. Now every diksha won't do that. It depends on a great many things. But diksha is unbelievably powerful. That's what it does. Dikshas open up and activate the frontal cortex, and it starts to prune and dissolve the neural nets that keep you, the default mode network, locked into the past or into the future. because both the past and the future, they're illusions. The only thing is actually right now. The whole trick to every spiritual practice on earth is to lower the default mode network so that you're awake. If enlightenment happens, enlightenment means the default mode network has gone down 40 to 60%, somewhere in between 40 to 60%. And then they're fully enlightened. You can't go 100% because a human being will become dysfunctional. Can't operate in the world. Now, what can we do? The speed of society is escalating, and it's going faster and faster and faster and faster. It's never going to slow down. You and I cannot make our home like a Zen temple. We can try, but it's pretty hard to try to imitate a Zen life. That's why people go to retreats. Problem with the retreat is it's almost useless, because they don't generate, unless they're really highly developed, when they leave the retreat, the 11 million sensory receptors in their eyes, and then there's receptors for all of your other senses, activate the subconscious, and they lose their state. State doesn't stay. The worst thing they can do is work with psychedelics, because that's very temporary, and all they're doing is altering their brain chemistry. And then what they see or what they experience will not remain. It doesn't remain. They go into this blissful altered state, but then they come out of it. See. And then they're back to ground zero. The problems are still the same. Everything is the same. So what do we do? That's what I want to give you today. There's a couple of things that are specific that you can start to do now today to bring up your level of happiness, lower the cortisol, activate the frontal cortex, and start to experience your life in a much more richer, beautiful way. Because every day, when the day is gone, it's gone. We don't get any of that back. And we should always be happy and enjoying our life and experiencing our life. That's why we came here. And that's why you have a body. The way the world is designed now, and as AI gets more and more and more, it's going away. There's a very large looming danger for humans and humanity. And the principle goes, there's a very famous way to understand it. If you take a frog in a little dish of water and very gradually raise the temperature of the water, so it's very slow, his nervous system will not notice, and he'll boil to death. And that is exactly the arena we're in now. The frog isn't aware, so he dies where he sits. So the trick here is to be alive, awake, aware, and enjoy life. But in order to enjoy life, you have to experience it. When we're in default mode network, we are not experiencing life. There's a disconnect. Remember what I told you, 2 minutes presence is greater than 1 hour of what we would consider very pleasant distraction. So here comes a couple. I want you want you to take some notes. First, resist switching tabs or scrolling. Resist it. Remember what I taught you last time? There is a cortisol dopamine flicker rate. It's an addiction. When you turn on the phone and you notice that you have the impulse to just scroll or to move, resist it. Start to learn how to fight that. That's very, very important, that you develop enough strength in focus and intention. You don't scroll. Stay where you are. So you select one window. This is all for brain reset now. You select one window, one goal. Why are you on the phone? What are you looking for? What's the subject? And then if you have an outcome like learning something or just entertainment, but it's one goal, one window, one subject. Select it and resist. Put a resistance to the addiction, because that's all it is. It's a dopamine cortisol addiction, and they work together. It's very, very strong. You have to break that. Next, commit 20 minutes a day to reading a book. A book. It's different. 20 minutes, and you want it to be deep reading with an emphasis on comprehension. All of this is for making yourself, your frontal cortex, thicker, stronger, and being able to develop presence, focus, a focused, present mind, developing consciousness. Okay? What you'll find when you go to read the book, you can be reading the words and even saying them, and you'll find that the default mode network, your mind can be, when you become conscious, can actually be on something else. It's unbelievable. That's the way we're designed, but you got to lock it down. Okay? Here's another one. So there's 1, 2, here's 3. Mandatory, please. Mandatory. Take 10 to 15 minutes a day and do absolutely nothing. Sit, close your eyes, no input from anything at all. Nothing. No phone, no music, no anything. You just sit, you listen, and you breathe through the nose. Emphasis on longer exhales than the inhale. 10 to 15 minutes. What that does a massive amount. You're designed for it. You're not designed for nonstop input. So what the brain does is it filters, it reboots, the cortisol drops down, the amygdala goes to sleep, your heart, everything upgrades, replenishing your dopamine receptors, everything. Just 10 to 15 minutes a day. You'll be very happy you did. If you find that difficult to do, recognize that you have a dopamine cortisol addiction, and this, just like being an alcoholic, they got to dry out. The 10 to 15 minutes of silence and doing nothing dries you out, refreshes you, reboots you. It's very, very important. Always, here's 4, always optimize sleep. If sleep isn't happening the way you want it, do everything you can until it is happening the way you want it. Without the sleep, nothing is going to work properly at all. It's you have to have it. It's mandatory. Now, here comes some things for your willpower. Learn to say no to mindless, busy nonsense. So first you have to identify where you spend time on mindless, busy nonsense. And then say no. Say no. You want to be alive and conscious, and you want your life to matter. You want to experience life. Mindless, busy nonsense is prevalent, especially in the social media. Okay? Cultivate curiosity. You'd be amazed I'm always amazed when I meet people and they have no curiosity. It's very amazing to me. And the phone is the biggest perpetrator for this stuff. Because you can just type in a question and you get an answer right away. So we become lazy. When you see a little child, when we were little children, we're always curious. I'm always curious. Curiosity is the juice of life. Become interested in people, in your partner, in the sky, at the butterflies, if you're lucky enough to have butterflies where you live. But cultivate curiosity. Remove from your life all of the trauma, drama, fear loops. Remove from your life trauma, drama, fear loops. And watch out for them. In the social media, all they're doing for you, they give you problems there's no answer. They show traumas and different things. There's nothing you can do about it. There's no answer. It's open-ended. That is designed to keep your brain churning on it, to keep the amygdala activated, to keep the cortisol going, to shunt the blood away from the frontal cortex, creating brain fog and stress and anxiety. Remove it. You have to make a decision, and it's for you. It's a very important decision to make. And lastly, it's the research is very clear on this. Don't just use texts and voice messages. Every single day, it's essential that you have real FaceTime conversations. Human beings are social animals. It's so important that you talk face to face, live, with people, your family, your friends, anybody. Enormously important. Say no to virtual, Don't do that. Now, I wrote a PDF. I wrote a book, and we made it into a PDF, and you can get it for free if you refer somebody. What I do is I give you a free 2-hour session if they take a session, and you get my PDF. What is my PDF? It's based on Zen. It's based on a treatise that was written by a great Zen master a long time ago in Samurai Society. And what I teach in there is how to break the default mode network using your body. See, we're not made for virtual life. No, it looks very sexy and it looks very, and you can do it, but don't live your life like that. When you go to die someday and you have to leave your body and everything, the 3D world, you won't give a damn about virtual anything, I assure you. So we have our body, and the body is designed as an experience machine. It's an experience machine, and it's a masterpiece of creation to do that. So when you're walking, imagine walking across a room fully conscious as you're walking versus just walking to do something when you get there. It's a difference of night and day. Utterly difference of night and day. Nobody does that. You have to really train to do that. You know who does that? Professional dancers, professional stage performers. If the person has to walk across the stage, they train their body and their posture and their face and all of it. So they have to become conscious from their head to their toes if they're a master. When you see an amateur and he's moving his body, his consciousness might be in his hand and the rest of it's empty. If he's a great master, his consciousness fills his entire body with pure presence. Very, very different. Very, very, very different. And because, as I told you, the two networks are exclusive. So when that master is filling his whole body and he's doing whatever he's doing, his default mode network is not, it's off. It's off. So he's conscious. So he's experiencing that. Like eating food. I always try now one of my meditations is enjoying my coffee in the morning, because I take great pride in my coffee. I only drink 1 cup a day, and it's a ceremony the way I make it. And then I train myself to sit quietly with the divine and enjoy that 1 cup of coffee. Sometimes I'm successful. Sometimes I'm not, because my default mode, I have not gotten rid of my default mode network. I'm not an enlightened man. So it requires training. That's why I told you, learn how to say no, how to be selective, make your life conscious. If we make our life conscious, by the time AI takes over everything, you'll be okay. You'll be fine. If you don't become conscious and it takes over everything, you won't be fine. Okay? Now, I want to summarize what I've taught you today. These are some principles. As much as possible, simplify. Simplify. Make things clean, neat, ordered, and simple. Next, always, key number 1, experience your life through your body. Experience your life through your body. Textures, smells, sounds. and be selective with the textures you want to feel, the sounds you want to hear, the smells you want in your space. Marry yourself to the context of where you are, to the arena, to the room, the people, through your body. Remember, the world that you see and experience, people, everything, is an exact mirror of you. That's what you're experiencing. So you make you strong, noble, beautiful, ordered, clear, conscious. And you just watch what world you experience. Next, key number 2, remove the trauma, drama, fear loops. They're being embedded into you through the social media network. Remove that from your life. You'll be happy you did. Third, say no to the mindless, busy nonsense. So first you have to identify, which means you're becoming conscious and aware of what the mindless, busy nonsense is. A lot of us, we confuse progress with being busy, but we're going nowhere. Like one of those little water bugs that spins, if you've ever seen one. Or like running on the spot. He's running, he's not going anywhere, just brrr, and you just get tired. Next, key number 4, to make time to have live FaceTime. Make time. I will never forget when I moved to Thailand here, and my first year I was living in a place called Isan, way up in the mountains. And there was a lovely man there that really liked me. His name was Kamun. And he was a lovely man. And he wanted to study with me. So I was teaching him Japanese sword. And he was just a lovely man. He was a professional photographer, world class. So I moved at the end of the year to Chiang Mai, and Kamun was up in Isan, and he had come down to Chiang Mai. He notified me he was in town because he had to do some photo shoots, wanted to get together with me. And I thought about it. I thought, well, I'm so busy, and I didn't make time to see him because I had all these excuses how busy I was. And he died. All of a sudden, he was dead. I got word from one of his buddies. I missed seeing him, and then I regretted that so much. Don't live like that. Don't live in the virtual world with texts and voice messages. To hell with that. Call him up and look at him. You can still use the text, of course, but make sure every day you have face time with a human being. The research shows it's essential. Okay? And of course, one thing at a time, all day long. One thing at a time. If you have a real busy life, you can have a job where you have your big long list. That's fine. But you do 1 to completion, 2 to completion, 3 to completion, That's how you got to do it. If you do that, you'll have success. If you don't do that, you're working on creating burnout. You're working on creating the state of quiet quitting, quiet cracking. All of those states, those three, they're epidemic now. That's why I'm taking the time to teach these things. So I hope this helps. I really hope it helps. You have to make some decisions. And the first thing to understand is how the brain works, how you're designed. And you have these two networks. They're mutually exclusive. It's very hard to know the default mode because it's unconscious, it's subconscious. It takes some training. When you come to see me, I'm clearing your subconscious mind. We're detoxing, refining, removing negative triggers. You're receiving Diksha, which is making you awake, lowering the default mode network, and increasing your bond with your divine. And when you receive prayer, we have the divine pulling the strings for you. See, if you don't have, when you see a person with no relationship to the divine, their life will follow its destiny. It's all written. And whatever their destiny and karma and everything, it'll run its course. And some of them are really great. Some of them are really terrible. Some of them rise high and end in tragedy. Some of them have tragedy and end high. The destinies are there. When you have a bond with the divine, you have an intermediary that can change all that. That's what they did for me. Change it 360 degrees. Done that for some of my other clients too, in terms of total rewritten lives. So that's why the divine is important. When you have the divine and a bond, you have the best friend you could ever have. So I hope that helps. This is the master class. And now the master class I'm planning for next month, I want to review AI and some things, bring you up to date on some stuff to think about. Okay? I hope I see you all for a personal session. I recommend that with all my heart. And of course, the collectives and the full moon will be the end of this month. Until then, God bless all of you, and I'll see you later. Bye for now.